Hey guys, hey, I gotta tell you today something amazing happened. I got this, first of all, I got this call right before Christmas, um, and it was from a guy, a clocksmith in Indiana that I'd taken some work to. He had called to tell me that clock that I'd brought in was done, and kind of a little bit of backstory on this clock. It was a clock that the clock was built in 1961. It's just a little electric clock that has a little wooden frame around it. It's got 3 little shelves built into it. Built in 1961. My great-grandparents purchased the clock in 1962, and from 1962 it ran every single day until early 2017 of last year. That's really close to almost 60 years. I mean, like 56, 57 years. This clock ran every day. And I was blessed. Growing up as a kid, I was blessed absolutely. Every time we'd have Christmas Eve and we'd go to my great-grandparents' house, I'd sit on the floor and unwrap presents, and I would always look up at this clock, and I always said, I want this clock when the time comes. I want this clock. So when the time came, the opportunity came that I could have this clock, I brought it home. I was absolutely ecstatic. I plugged it in. Clock took right off. I mean, it was just made so incredibly. And I was blessed that this clock ran for me for about a year. And then one night earlier in 2017, which was just last year, trying to get used to 2018 now, one night we had a power outage, and when I went to plug the clock back in, I noticed that the time wasn't keeping up with it. In fact, the minute hand, the longer hand, had stopped moving altogether. So I researched clocksmiths, and I found one in a town, Evansville, Indiana, which is about an hour and a half from me. And I didn't hesitate. I put the clock in the car, made the trip to Evansville, Indiana, went to the clocksmith. I was just blessed that he was able to work on it. He had actually stopped taking on new clientele because this guy was so crazy busy. And I mean, I got to tell you, when I stepped into this shop, the environment, the aura that this place gave off was absolutely incredible. And the skill set that this clocksmith had, his name is Terry, the skill that Terry had was just absolutely amazing. And he said, I'll tell you what, he said, I'm not really taking on any clientele anymore, but he said, if this was your great-grandparents' clock, if you're not in a hurry, he said, I'll get it fixed. And that was in August that I took the clock. So I got the clock, so we're talking about 4.5 months. I was willing to wait 6 or 8 months if I had to. The clocks meant that much to me. But I went today. I made a trip back to Evansville. The first day he was back open, and he handed me the clock. I paid for my bill, and he said all he had to do was replace one single gear that had finally gone bad after almost 60 years. But he didn't have to touch anything else. He said everything else was like brand new, but he could tell it was all original. And that means a lot to me, to know that only one thing's been replaced in this, and that this is still the same clock that I looked at for years. And anybody that really knows me knows I'm absolutely a fan of heirlooms. I love family heirlooms. That clock was not the only thing I got, and I'm absolutely blessed for that. That has made the start of my 2018 absolutely incredible. Second day in, I can't tell you how exciting it was to plug this electric clock back on the wall where I had it hanging and hear it just tick, tick, tick along with the operations of the motor. And that really means the world to have this clock back. So part of my WTS tonight, what I want to ask you, when it comes to your life, what are some things that really matter to you? What is important in your daily life? Is it the laughter of your children, the smile of your significant other? Is it something as simple for me as an electric clock that used to be your great-grandparents? And I think that it's good on a regular basis that we constantly look at what is important to us. Because sometimes what's important to us will change, and maybe something that wasn't as important we realize is important. And by constantly readjusting and relooking at things, we can stay really more focused on what is really important to us, so we don't waste our all-important time, energy, and emotion on things that we later find out weren't that important. You know, it's just a clock. It was a clock built back in '61. When it quit working, it could have easily just been thrown in the trash, and right now could be sitting busted up, laying in a landfill somewhere, starting to decompose and rust. But being that it meant the world to me, it was important to me, I was able to invest my time wisely. And now, according to the clocksmith, I've got a clock that's on my wall and very well could last a few more decades. I mean, he said the insides had held up so well, and there's going to be things in your life that's really going to hold up well. There's beliefs, there's ideas, there's loves, there's joys that you're going to have in your life that even if it don't look at it right now, they're really going to hold up for you. That's where you've got to really stay focused on what's important. Kind of like the rails on a train track. They keep you in line. And when you keep in between those rails, you stay where you need to be versus getting off to one side or getting off to another where you get lost, and then we've got to find our way back. You know, it's amazing that I'm able to sit here and talk for about 8 or 9 minutes on a clock, but really it's the importance behind the clock. And that's why I want my call to action for you, especially at the beginning of this year. Take a day or two and really think, write it down. What are some things that are really meaningful to you? What is really important to you? And don't sit and think about it. If you immediately say this is important, write it down. You know, a lot of times we sit and we overthink something and we unimportance it. We take away its significance because we talk ourselves out of it. If you think it, write it down. And look at these things. Look at them not just today and tomorrow. Look at them in June. Look at them in August. Look at them next Christmas. And always try to refocus. Because when we refocus, we really can grab a hold of life and what it means to live truly an impactful and extraordinary life. And this goes beyond just writing and just speaking. This goes on to the core of what it really means to live. And you know, I just got up to come in here and do this video after sitting and having a little bit of dinner. I actually sat on the couch and ate my dinner, and I just listened to this clock, and I can't tell you the peace that has come over me just sitting there listening to that. And that's something I would miss if I had not found the importance in this to have it fixed. So just know, whether you're doubting yourself, whether you're believing in yourself, always know what's important with you. Knowing what's important is a big part of the game. and that's going to put you ahead of a lot of the pack. So as we get ready for the third day of this new year, I still hope that you rock it, you crush it, you go out there and you make it your all. Thanks guys, take care, bye.